Hey guys, Adam Shaw here. This is a fight that's been requested a few times. Ernesto Hoost versus Bob Sapp. And this is their first fight from 2002. It's interesting, but Ernesto Hoost, widely considered one of the best kickboxers of all time, especially heavyweight. Four times K1 GP champion, wins over like Stefan Leko, Ray Sefo, Jerome Le Bonheur, like all the top guys from that time. And, like I said, considered to be one of the greatest of all time. And Bob Sapp isn't. But it could still come in and beat Ernesto Hoost twice, actually. So I just thought this would be an interesting to have a look at and see what went right for Bob Sapp and what went wrong for Ernesto Hoost. Let's go. I mean, first things first, look at the size of the man. He's enormous. Ernesto Hoost is a big guy too, but Bob Sapp's a different kind of thing. I've met Bob Sapp quite a few times and he's a lovely guy, but we barely feel like I'm the same species. You can see here, so I'll just start this again. From the start, if Ernesto Hoost can plant his feet and start to land shots, he's going to have an effect against Bob Sapp. But what Bob can do with his size is just push him back. And I've said on my video on my channel like a few times, like if you don't have your feet underneath and you're being pushed back, it's really difficult to generate any power. When he's even using like his arm to like just push him and then like hit him with the other arm and stuff. Like definitely not a clean style. But you can see that he was coming from an NFL background, and playing American football. He'd obviously been really used to like having those like high power workouts where he'd be able to sprint for like 10 seconds and then rest and then sprint again. And you can see that reflects on how he's fights. So I've said as well, like the way that you run should really reflect how you're going to fight as well. And he's got that short explosive thing where it can really burst, but then if he goes for too long, he'll tire. But then he can recover and he can go again. So you'll see that in this fight. So you can see he's had that big burst, and now he needs to take his foot off the gas a little bit. But he's eaten a lot of shots from Ernesto Hoost. And there's the low kick. Ernesto's known for having a fantastic low kick. Doing a lot of damage to Bob. And this is what I mean. Look, so when Bob is taking a foot off the gas, Ernesto can find his feet underneath him and then start to land with his big shots. But when he gets pushed back, he can't do that. See that? I mean, he's got his range and everything all set up, so Ernesto can land a lot of damage. But being pushed back, he can't do that. It's something to think about, if you are fighting against someone that's really teeing off on you and that, they got the feet underneath you and they're just picking you off. Sometimes you just need to take the fight to them, really make the fight ugly, and it can be really effective. The other thing is as well, like Bob Sapp would have been able to spar with people similar to Ernesto Hoost, but who would you bring in to spar to kind of be like a Bob Sapp? And there you go. See, Ernesto's left with no choice but really to go down here. He's allowed himself to get bullied into a corner. He should have tried to, like speaking in hindsight, he should have tried to come around him rather than going straight back. And, it gets bullied into the corner. It would have been easy to get around Bob anyway. But you can see just pushing him back here with his arm. He's got his arm locked out straight. Ernesto, you can see he's got his hand over the top of the arm, maybe trying to push it down, but then it's followed by this big right hand, his big heavy shot. It's difficult for Ernesto to escape either this way or that way, with the way that Bob is standing and the way that Bob's, using his like dirty boxing style. So he's left with no choice really but to go down. So this is more of a tactical 8 count, in my opinion. I know he's bleeding and stuff, but I wouldn't say he's necessarily hurt. This is something else which comes up is sometimes, the cut's not that bad. People say about that, about sometimes like, a fight will get stopped with a cut. And the cut doesn't look that bad, but it's the cut's placement. Like where this is, it's right above Ernesto's eye. So, it will impair his vision. Something that, to be aware of next time that you might think that a cut doesn't look too bad. For sure, there are bad calls as well, but this makes sense. Bob Sapp, he really turned into a showman. He had a really up and down career at the start, and then he just mostly went down. It was a bit of a shame, really. I think he just kind of became a bit of a journeyman. Like people would pay to see him lose. Became a huge celebrity in Japan. There you go. There's that explosive power. Oh, that was dirty. Hitting him while he was low. He did the same thing to Remy Bonyaski and got disqualified for that too. Yeah, the referee should really be talking to him about that. You can see Bob's growing in confidence now. It's amazing how tired you feel when you don't believe in yourself. There you go. End of the round. Again, that was dirty by Bob. But maybe didn't hear. But and yeah, that's the fight. This fight gets stopped now because of the cut. Yeah, they did rematch in the 2002 Grand Prix. What happened? Yeah, Bob Sapp won, but broke his hand. It was very much the same sort of fight as this, really. Bob Sapp broke his hand, even though he'd won. So he was then replaced by Ernesto Hoost. And Ernesto Hoost went on to go and win the GP. So, maybe, if Bob didn't break his hand, who knows what could have been. He did beat a few people after this, but I think maybe he just became too much of a celebrity, particularly in Japan. But yeah, that was one that was requested. So if there's anything that, if there are any fights that you want me to check out, or maybe even your own fights or training videos, just leave them in the comments. And I've got my socials in the description too, so feel free to drop me a message anytime. All right, I'll speak to you soon, guys.